It's Tom here because it's Healthy Minds, Better Lives. And as ever, I'm joined by the wonderful Hayley. Evening.
Evening, everyone.
Evening. Now, I'm going to come back to you, Hayley, in just a moment, but I'm going to address the fact that we've got no Tammy with us this evening.
Not tonight.
It's because she's been away learning and developing. She's been at a conference today. So looking forward to hearing about what she's been learning next month. We'll have to give her like a little bit of a test.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. How are you then, Hayley?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's been a busy day. I've been out of the house since 7:30 and I've just got in half an hour ago.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. I do love how very similar our day lives are. And then here we are talking about, you got to have balance.
Let's not talk about sleep this week then.
Please don't. If you're new to this show, if you're just tuned in, maybe you're listening to Ross on the evening show and we're here. This is our wellness show that we put on looking at mental health, looking at physical health. Last month, we were talking about the menopause with Joe and with Heidi. And in fact, their next session is this coming Monday, actually. So that's going to be at the Hive on Gossip Road in Haverfordwest. So I hope that you can listen back to that last show. It's still on our Facebook and it's on the catch-up at purewestradio.com as the last couple of shows are. And we've got Anna with us this evening. She's on Facebook morning. I'm used to talking to Anna on the breakfast show, where I'll be again tomorrow morning with Folly Farm. But she's right here this evening for Healthy Minds, Better Lives. If you have any questions, first of all, related to our guest, I'm going to introduce in just a moment. But if you have any questions relating to your mental or physical health, we're going to do our best to kind of help frame them and help find a perspective on them, or certainly try and give a next action or signpost to where you can go to next. Because that's something that we're passionate about, Hayley.
Really is, yeah. I think we were talking earlier about having questions from our audience is really engaging for us as well, just to know we're on the right track, to know we're giving the right information, and to know that people are enjoying it as well.
Yes, very much so. And I've just mentioned we are very fortunate. We've got another guest with us. And in fact, I'm going to put a centre stage at the bottom there. Good evening, Jenny.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. Hi, everybody.
Jenny, very quickly, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. A very top line. Who are you and why are you here this evening?
So I'm Jenny. I am the support group leader for Endometriosis UK's West Wales support group. As I was saying earlier, I am the first ever West Wales support group leader. There was never anything like this here before me. So this is all very new. And yeah, that's me.
Excellent. We're gonna ask Jenny some questions, and if you've got any questions as well, we are live on Facebook as well this evening, so you can put them in the comments, and also you can call or WhatsApp us. It's 01437 764455. You can download the PWR app, and you can send messages direct to us, and we'll get them here to the studio. And of course, there's email studio@purewestradio.com, and I'm also going to do my best to look at the social media this evening as well, so we're not missing anything out. If you have a question, let us know. If you want to keep it in confidence, then don't put it on the Facebook comment, obviously. But if you send a WhatsApp or PWR message, just say no name, and we'll be able to get your question aired and find out what's going on there. Anna's come in with a question, which, Hayley, I think we'll field this after we talk to Jenny. So we'll do this a little bit later on in the show. Want to be more fitter, healthier, and lose some weight, but find it really hard to physically and mentally do so. Do you have any tips? So we'll cover that. And I think that fits perfectly, actually, with what we're going to be talking about. Further on in the show, we're going to be looking at the pressure of being beach body ready or being summer ready, and the pressure that all of a sudden we've got blue skies, warmer temperatures. Does this mean that we're being unfair on ourselves? Does it mean that we're putting too much pressure on ourselves? Hayley and I are going to talk about that in a bit more detail. We'll get Jenny's perspective actually towards the end of talking about the West Wales group for the endometriosis group as well, and also. On Saturday morning, an inspirational young lady, Freya, is going to be setting sail from Neyland Marina to circumnavigate the UK. And she's doing it all in aid of of mental health awareness. She's had her own issues in the past. She's overcome some of them. She still has battles. She was talking with Lee on the community hour, and we're going to replay those segments before the end of the show here this evening. So it's a jam-packed Healthy Minds, Better Lives, as we always have here on a Thursday evening. And I suppose the first thing to go back to Jenny is, why did you set up a West Wales endometriosis group?
So I suppose the best way to start is to tell you a little bit about my story and what got me to this position, really. So I first started presenting with symptoms, which I'll go into a bit in a moment, at 14. And the GP didn't really have any answers for me. I was just given hormonal treatment, like the contraceptive pill, things like that. That was it. That was life. After about a few trips to A&E, I was eventually referred to gynae at 17. This was trips to A&E where I was in excruciating pain during my menstrual cycle. I couldn't walk. I had awful problems with my bowels. It was scary for a teenager. I really had no idea what was going on. Obviously, we have our sex education in school, and we're told what a period is, and we're told that you're going to get cramping and things like that. But what I was dealing with was so much more than anything any video had showed me in school. I was clueless. So yeah, 17, I eventually went to a gynecologist, and again was met with, you're an unfortunate woman, you're just gonna have to deal with this. It's gonna be life, and we'll just take some painkillers and get on with it. Eventually, I fell pregnant at 18, which was a horrible experience, if I'm totally honest. I was really poorly right the way through my pregnancy, and then had quite a traumatic, albeit quick, but traumatic birth, which left me quite shell-shocked and actually left me with postnatal depression. After all of that, my symptoms progressed. They got worse. The family planning clinics tried to just give me more contraceptives, other things to sort of manage it. Nothing was offered, nothing really worked, nothing helped. Eventually, I took it upon myself and stood up to my gynecologist and said, I can't take contraceptives anymore. It's not working. It's making me feel really poorly. I have no intention of having any other children. I was with my son's father at the time, so I was happy to just, be sensible. And they said, fine, if that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. I fought all this time then for a laparoscopy, which is the only definitive way to diagnose endometriosis. It can't really be found in scans or on blood tests or through examinations in any kind of way like that. If it's severe enough, it may show up, but that's very, very rare. The only definitive way is to have surgery to be able to find it. I was told I was too overweight. It was probably IBS, a multitude of other things. Funnily enough, stopping taking contraception allowed me to lose 2 stone in weight. And eventually, when I was 29, after 15 years of dealing with this, they let me have a laparoscopy. And my gynecologist said, I'm sorry, yep, you were right, you've got endometriosis. And that's where I am now, which, so in that journey, made me realise that there was no support here. There was lots of groups in Cardiff, in Swansea, but they're in different health boards. They have different journeys to what we have in West Wales. And I thought it was important for women in West Wales to be able to have a central hub to be able to talk and get together and get their feelings across, and then have somebody else who knew what they were going through. That led me to approach Endometriosis UK and set up the West Wales support group.
Gosh, there's a lot to unpack there, and unfortunately,
yes, I'm so sorry.
No. It's because you're not the only one. Like, my next line is, we had an interview. We had an interview on this show 3 or 4 months ago, and it was looking at the delays in diagnosis for endometriosis and how people have had to wait, even though you know within yourself when you're not feeling well. And Hayley, that feeling of not being listened to for such a long period of time, that's gonna catch up with anyone, whether that's someone suffering with endometriosis or not. Hayley, what's your advice to someone who might be going through that chronic not feeling well and then just not being listened to?
I think, do you know what Jenny said about standing up to the doctor? This is a personal opinion, our biggest problem is that we hand over our power for our health to other people, the experts. But if you listen to just Jenny's story, and Jenny is replicating a story from mental health to physical health to women's health to men's health all over this country, where people are going presenting with, I would say more often than not, box standard symptoms of conditions and just not being listened to and being told. You know, I've had my own clients have been told to go away and have a cup of coffee and go and have a bath, because even though they've admitted to feeling that they want to take their own lives. And I just think, why are we constantly giving our power to other people? I understand that they're the experts, they've been through the medical sort of training. We are the experts in our body. We know our bodies and our minds, at least if we give ourselves a chance, better than anybody else does. But we also need to know the right questions to ask when it comes to going to the GP or the doctors, and we need to empower ourselves in that journey.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
we'll get on to how the support group can probably help arm those people and who the support group's for. But Jenny, I wanted to ask you first, for those that might not be familiar, what is endometriosis?
So endometriosis, sorry, I've got notes everywhere here. So endometriosis is the name given to the condition where cells similar to the lining of the womb, so your endometria that you pass during your period, similar to that, grows in other parts of the body. It primarily starts just outside of the womb, on the ovaries, on the tubes, but eventually will spread to other parts of the body. It will usually go to the place like the bowels, the bladder. In even then more severe cases, it can start attaching itself to muscles, into your like hip cavity, and then you have I can't pronounce it, thoracic endometriosis, where it starts growing up this way, and it starts embedding in your lungs, in your diaphragm, in the muscles around your rib cage, and to the point where some ladies have had collapsed lungs because of it. It is it has, because it has no way to escape the body, that's why it causes so much pain. When you have your period, you have your cramps, and then you pass everything, and then you go on. With endometriosis, because it sits in the body, there's nowhere for it to go. It just grows and embeds and causes more and more pain and more cramps, to the point then where it doesn't just become a menstrual issue, it's pain through through any time, really.
Yeah, because I didn't realize it could potentially become so invasive, and could spread so far and wide. And it's not very elastic like the rest of our organs. It doesn't move very freely. It's more similar to scar tissue. So when you are trying to be a human and things are moving and you're stretching and things, it's tugging and it's pulling, and that's what's the cause of the pain.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one adhesion where part of my reproductive organs is attached to my colon, and if I turn too fast in one direction, the pain is unbearable, and it can take me off my feet, completely take me off my feet. During my menstrual cycle, I get to a point where I can't use my left leg properly, because we're under the assumption that it's growing in and around my nerves in my left leg, so it's affecting that area as well. We don't even, myself and my doctors, we don't really know where to go with that, because it's such a dangerous place to even attempt to operate. That worst case scenario, it nick a nerve and I could lose my leg. So it is an incredibly invasive condition.
Yeah. And then you mentioned some symptoms. What are the common symptoms for those that might have? Because you get the full spread that you've mentioned, but some people might have what is it, like a small layer in their uterus for a long time, and it might not impact them too much, but they might still have symptoms.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
give us a bit of a list of what people could expect.
So your classic endometriosis symptoms include pelvic pain, which is a given. You have painful periods that will interfere with your everyday life, as I say, taking you completely off your feet, not being able to go anywhere. Pain during or after sex, that is a huge one that a lot of people, I think, tend to ignore, just because the act of what you're doing might, it is what it is. But that I do think is something that if you really are in pain afterwards and it's quite painful during, you absolutely need to consider that there's something going on down there, because sex shouldn't be painful. It shouldn't be painful. Absolutely not. Painful bowel movements, especially during your period. Pain when urinating. Difficulty getting pregnant is a huge one. Infertility is a massive issue for a huge part of our community. And fatigue, which I think again is something that a lot of women ignore. I'm always tired. I'm always exhausted, and I think a lot of people just go, "Oh, I'm just shattered. I didn't sleep last night. I've had a busy day," and it could actually be something far more nefarious. And yeah, so that's another one that really should be looked at as well. Back pain, leg pain, depression is another one, and odd periods as well. I've said about the heavy periods, but the bleeding sort of just in between your periods where it looks a bit funky or might smell a bit funky, that's also worth chasing up on as well.
Yeah. There really is a wide-ranging range of symptoms, but Hayley, I imagine that makes it even more difficult to actually go to see your doctor with. Because what's the issue today? Well, actually, a couple of days ago it was that, but then a couple of weeks ago it was that, and it just becomes an accepted norm. It's amazing how adaptable we are to pain, which means that we don't present. And then when we do present, we can't necessarily communicate it properly. What can be done about that?
I think we really need to encourage children to get to know their bodies, to really understand their bodies, because periods change everything, don't they? For young girls, you
absolutely,
it changes so many things. Your hormones, your body changes. You're not kind of, if a pain comes and people talk about periods being painful, then you accept that it's a painful period, or you accept that if you've never had sex before and sex has always been painful, you accept that that's how it is. And presenting with one or two symptoms, maybe you haven't noticed the other symptoms, maybe they're internal. So it really is about, and I say this all the time, about self-awareness, becoming really friendly with your body and getting to know how you operate and how you're changing throughout your period. But just from this section now, we're only sort of 20 minutes in, I've learned so much already just by having this conversation. So we need more conversations like this as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. A huge part of what I want to get out of my support group, which I've already started implementing, is getting in touch with the likes of Pembrokeshire College and the local sixth forms, universities, because my group covers Pembrokeshire, Carmarthenshire and Ceredigion, because we're all under that health board. So even going as far as Aberystwyth University, Trinity and Carmarthen, to sort of get a conversation going. I'm going to go during Freshers Weeks and put stands up, and we can get people talking. Say it shouldn't be a taboo. We should be talking about it.
Yeah. Helen has been in touch on the Facebook. Just want to see. I'm worried that I might have cut some of it off. So you've got some of it on the screen. I've hidden me behind the comment if you're watching this on Facebook. So I'm going to read the whole thing out. After years of suffering with debilitating cramps and passing out from pain, from then being told you need more fiber. It's normal. It's stomach migraines. It's IBS. We're almost out of our toolbox for you. Have you tried yoga and mindfulness? I finally changed surgeries, and my next surgery took me seriously. Sent me to the gynae. Then, after a few months, I was put on a laparoscopy list. A few months later, I was diagnosed with endo in September. Relief and validation after almost 10 years of fighting. Birth control made it worse, but water bottles are my best friend, and the fatigue is real. And that kind of, Hayley, you're saying there about understanding and knowing our bodies. Jenny had to wait a long time. Helen had to wait a long time. When we were talking to those guests a couple of months ago, they waited a long time. I actually think that we do know our bodies, it's just that not necessarily being listened to.
And it's about asking the right questions, but how do you know what to ask if you don't know what the issue is? And I think that's feeling like you can is one thing, isn't it? Feeling like you can go and challenge your doctor because they are the experts, they are trained, they're qualified. But actually, I think they should welcome it. I think they should sort of open up to us as people who are living with it day after day after day, to being questioned, challenged. I've sat with my son and a doctor going through a medical dictionary to figure out what was wrong with him. That was a little bit weird for me. So if they can do that, we can go and challenge them and say, what else is there? What are the other options? What could this be?
Yeah. And Jenny, I think that there's no problem with that, is there? Like, the whole point is that they are to explore and to actually take you as you present and listen to you and what you have to say. And if option A doesn't work, then let's consider option B. Because as Anna just mentioned there, no one knows how bad it is till you're in that position, and getting people to listen to you. Once you've got that appointment, it's up to you to really say, this does not feel normal. And even if your question is as basic as that, I am not feeling well. It's not even a question. It's a statement to your doctor. What I'm experiencing is not what I anticipate to experience as a human being.
Absolutely. A huge thing that I do say to a lot of my group members when it comes to sort of advocating with GPs and with gynecologists is where have I got that tab now? Oh, I've lost the tab. The NICE guidelines, the NICE guidelines. So obviously they're created for to make sure that the healthcare professionals are following the right processes. So there's specific guidelines for endometriosis. It's a 3-stage guideline. The first one is once you start presenting with symptoms to trial the hormonal route, which is a standard thing that everybody tries. For a lot of women, the hormonal route does work. Some women have had brilliant relief from the likes of the coil, the likes of the implant. Sadly, it just didn't work for me. But in my years, I've discovered that a lot of medications I can't take anyway. So that's just more of a me problem than it is than it is a condition problem. So then you move on to step 2, where if you're still not getting anywhere with the hormonal treatment, you move on to the last laparoscopy. You move on to seeing a general gynae, who will do your scans. They'll sort out. I would always advocate for getting an MRI. It's you're more likely to find something on the MRI than you are to find it on the ultrasound, because ultrasounds just don't. They're not the right kind of wavelength, I guess. I'm not a sonographer, but yeah, they don't work quite as well. That's that step, and then that will eventually lead you to the laparoscopy, which will either give you your diagnosis or will say it's not that, but maybe they found something else that is causing your issues. But at least you've got somewhere. You then have the stage 3, which is a huge issue for West Wales and for our health board, in my opinion and my experience. Stage 3 is when you have confirmed endometriosis and severe endometriosis that's affecting other organs, not just your reproductive organs. So that's where you start moving on to the bowel, the bladder, thyroid endometriosis. That is where you're supposed to be then sent to an endometriosis specialist, a BSGE specialist, accredited clinic. West Wales doesn't have one. Helvar doesn't have one at all. Our closest is Swansea now, but that's only been recently. Up until then, our only one in Wales was Cardiff, and it was impossible to get seen down there. It's still now, in again my experience, completely impossible. The pathway just isn't there to be able to get seen in Swansea either. And with my symptoms and what it's looking like with me, it is absolutely deep infiltrating. It is affecting other organs, but I guess the funding isn't there, the staff aren't there. It's the sort of the same issue that everyone's looking at with the NHS. It's not there. But unfortunately, I think that women in Helvar Health Board have had a really bad deal with this, because we really have the most limited resources for gynecology, the most limited.
And I anticipate that they're trying to get through the backlog of everyone that they've missed and people that are going through it in the meantime as well. So let's look at your support group then, of these women that might be feeling underserviced. They might be feeling that they're not getting the right symptom checkups. Who's your support group for first and foremost? Is it for those with confirmed diagnosis or those being explored? Who's it for?
So my support group is for absolutely anybody in the Pembrokeshire, Carmarthenshire or Ceredigion area who is suspecting that they have endometriosis, have got confirmed diagnosis, or are even supporting somebody that has endometriosis. I have one member, a gentleman, that has joined my group because his partner is fighting for her diagnosis, but she likes to have him as support, and he's fantastic. He really wants to get involved as well, and I think that's a huge importance. I've got mums that have joined my group because they're concerned about their daughters, and the other family members, and yeah, it's absolutely anybody. If you just want to come and talk about what you're going through, if you want a bit of advice, the only thing I can't give you is medical advice. That was the only thing I can't give you.
That's good to know. We've got another comment in of someone sharing experience. We're going to go back to your support group in just a second, but it's an open door support group fundamentally. If you've got any link whatsoever, Lana, again, thank you so much for sharing. We've had Helen share something. Lana's now sharing it on the screen. We can only go so far, so I'm going to read the rest of it in the comments here. And Lana's saying it's educating the professionals, because as we've already established, we tend to know our bodies pretty well. Lana's saying, I've been having bad periods since the age of 12, days off school leading to days off work in adult life. Had everything told to me by my GPs: you need to lose weight, go on the pill, have a hot bath, have you tried paracetamol? I was able to go privately for an appointment and had an MRI scan, and have finally been referred for a laparoscopy, which I'm praying will give me answers and help for future. But the GP made me feel like it was in my head and I just couldn't tolerate pain. But I've lost count how many days I've been stuck in bed, keeled over in pain. It's so great that you're raising awareness and talking about it. Keep up the good work. And I assume, Jenny, that we've had Helen and Lana now share their stories. I imagine that these are not isolated stories from what you're hearing in your support group.
Not at all. One thing I will absolutely say is, in the last couple of years, where there's been a lot more awareness and a lot more education coming through on the condition, a lot of the younger members of my group seem to be waiting a lot less for diagnosis. They seem to definitely be getting heard more. So that is a really good thing. I'm finding that the younger girls are getting somewhere. Finally, they're not dealing with quite as much that I was sort of dealing with 15 years ago, which is a great thing. But I can sympathise with every single one of these stories. Absolutely.
I'm going to go slightly off topic here now with Hayley and be like, these young people are being seen. Yes, there's more acknowledgement for the condition in the first place. But do you think social media is actually playing a part on increasing young women's confidence to go to their doctor and say, I think I've got this, so you're going to put me in the right direction?
Well, you just look at the conversation we've had now, and we've got people in the comments, sharing their story. Sharing is so powerful. Share your story. It really does make people who have been told it's all in your head sometimes makes life make sense. All of a sudden, when you hear somebody's story and it's similar to yours, or even if it's not similar to yours, but you resonate with it, it can change your life. So social media, as much as it can be a bad thing, it also can be a really good thing. It can be a really good space to find out what other people are experiencing in life.
Yeah, and we've got Helen now sharing techniques, and I wonder if this is one that comes up in your support group, Jenny. Keep a color-coded traffic light system list when you're having the pain. So it was a godsend for Helen, the time of your pain, and make a note of it. We even did a calendar of typical year with ovulation, cycle, pain with a traffic light system. My gynae found it very useful. The women's health nurse asked me, are you getting a bit obsessed with this? Which could be, that's a huge barrier then to investigating not just that pain that you're presenting with, but any other health condition that might result from anything else. So Jenny, I imagine keeping people's confidence up and talking about these things can be quite a challenge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just from my own experience, there were some really dark times where I have sat there and gone, oh my gosh, I am just going crazy. This is well, yeah, it's all in my head. And you convince yourself, and it is. There was 2 times where I had that little bit of relief where I was like, yes, it's not in my head. And the first time was where I joined a support group for Bridgend and Swansea, because that was the closest I could find. And talking to other women through that group made me realise that I wasn't alone. And then when I had my surgery and had my diagnosis, that was the sort of final relief then of validation. Yes, I am. This is where it is. It's a weird, although that is a very strange feeling, because you have two sort of it's you feel validated. You feel like, yes, 15 years of my life has not been made up. This has happened to me. But then also you have to think about your future and what's going forward. Going back to what Helen said about keeping the diaries, pain diaries, absolutely. The period diaries, do it. Diet diaries as well, because there's so many foods that will cause inflammation that trigger endometriosis. So keeping a food diary is a really good one as well, and finding out what can make you bloated. I'm a huge lover of salad, but I like lots of colours in my salad. And unfortunately, I find tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that, just they give me really bad acid and they cause me to bloat really badly. And then it's learning what will help and what won't help.
And I imagine this is where the support group comes into its own, because people, like we're doing here on Healthy Minds, Better Lives, is you can share stories and be like, oh, I didn't think it'd be a tomato because that's a fruit and veg and that should be healthy for me. Therefore, it's perfect. And it definitely can't be that. We're going to go into dive deep about the support group in just a second. If you just joined us, where it's me, Tom, with Hayley, and we're joined by Jenny this evening of Endometriosis Support Group West Wales. If you've been affected by endometriosis, then maybe the details that we're about to give you for the support group could be a bit of a lifeline for you to help with your symptoms and symptom management and what to talk to your doctors and what next. So Jenny, you cover the whole of the Hildar Health Board, which as we now know is Pembrokeshire, Carmarthenshire, Ceredigion. How does the support group work? Is it like a base of operation? Like, give us the lowdown as to what it is.
So because it's such a vast area, and I am smack bang in the middle of that in Tenby, we do most of our everything is pretty much online. Our primarily where we all converse and where we all chat and share stories is on a Facebook group. It's a private group. You don't get in until I've accepted you in. I vet everybody before I let anybody in. I don't like having people come in that's there to cause a problem. So I always make sure that it's, because it's a safe space, it's somewhere for us to talk. So I don't want there to be any issues. So that can be found. I'm just going to make sure I am putting the word in the right way round, because I've done it wrong before now. It is Endometriosis UK West Wales. So that's where you'll find us on Facebook. I also have my own Facebook page, which is Jenny Endo UK, simple as that. If you don't have Facebook, I've also got an email address that you're more than welcome to contact me on. That is West Wales Group. Yes, West Wales Group at endometriosis-uk.org.
Lovely. And if you've missed that and you're thinking, oh no, I don't know, drop us a message. Either email us, you can call or WhatsApp on 01437 764455, use the PWR app, email studio@purewestradio.com and say, I really want to be in Jenny's endometriosis group. What were the contact details again? And we'll definitely get them out to you so you can have that conversation with Jenny. And you mentioned, just to reiterate, the types of people you've got in that group. It's not just those with a confirmed diagnosis, it's an open shop.
Nope, absolutely. Confirmed, unconfirmed, whether you're just looking for information and wanting to support somebody, come and talk to us.
And Hayley, I think that's beneficial to a support group. A support group where everyone's in the same boat means that you're going to get the same solutions. But actually, if you've got people from a wider range of perspectives, you might get an even bigger golden gem out of it.
Absolutely. As I said earlier, sharing is so powerful because it's the one thing that maybe didn't work for you that would work for somebody else. You might say, this didn't work for me. And they might think, actually, that might work for me. I'm going to give it a go. It's those conversations. And it's being so, when you are talking about intimate stuff, we listen more, I think. I think we're sort of more intentional about what we want to get out of the conversations. But I do have a little question at the end, if that's okay, if we've got a bit of time. Do you have people who come to you who are combining holistic and alternative therapies or treatments with traditional medicine?
Yes, I do. I myself use a lot of holistic medicine as well. I'm a big believer, as I say, in checking your diet, things like that. I use a lot of supplements to keep on top of my inflammation, like curcumin. Again, not giving any medical advice, but absolutely. Something we were talking about actually in our last group meeting was other things that we think could be made available to sufferers. It's things like reflexology, yoga sessions that focus on your pelvic area. Anything like that, and mental health support for endometriosis is something that we're hugely crying out for as well, because it's just sort of pushed to the sideline for it. Yes, absolutely brilliant.
Well, let's have a chat after. Let's talk that through after, because I think I can help you with that. But the other thing, I don't know if you use or if anybody does use it, but homeopathy, I'm a massive believer. I've got to the point where I don't really approach the GPs now. I go to natural holistic therapies first, and I just think that this is something that we need as a health system to be collaborating further. Yes, we have the NHS, a wonderful system when it's not broken. But if they were as open to collaborating with the holistic health out there, alternative health, I reckon we'd have a bigger, better system. But there's a disconnect, and I'd love to see that connection: mental health, physical health, all kinds of health. Just let's come together. We all want to help people. Let's come together in all our pods and put a system in place that actually does support everything for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there is a disconnect when you're looking at a diagnosis for a physical health condition, is that the mental well-being of the patient is often overlooked in the pursuit of finding the ultimate cure for the physical. But you still need to live every day, whilst they're waiting and putting their heads together to find out, let's try and fix this, and that can often be overlooked. And that's why support groups are so important, because you give the ability to talk and to get it out of your system, as a very basic first step to your ongoing journey of managing life with it. Jenny, is there anything else that you want to share with us this evening? And thank you so much for your time.
No, that's absolutely fine. Other than just check out our website, endometriosisuk.org. There's so much information on there, so many different like I say, things to do with symptoms, diagnosis. So many. We've got webinars coming out of our ears with lots of different topics. So go and have a look on there. There is so much information on there for you.
Jenny, it's been fabulous speaking with you this evening, and thank you so much to those that have sent us messages as well. Hannah and Lana providing real insight into their journey as well, which unfortunately are not isolated. The fact that there's 2 on this thread alone, well, 3, including yourself, Jenny, on this thread alone that have had that experience. I know that it doesn't help anything, but if you are listening to this and you're thinking, when's this ever going to change? Know that you're not alone. There are people you can talk to. Jenny's already mentioned there the fact that it looks like diagnoses are coming quicker for those that are presenting, and people are getting to that laparoscopy stage sooner rather than later. And hopefully people aren't waiting 10 years plus anymore. And with support groups like this, whilst you are waiting, hopefully you've got that, you've got the holistic approach to managing your health and your symptoms as well, and a friendly face that you can go to at these meetings. How regularly do you meet, Jenny?
So at the moment, I'm aiming for once a month online until I've got a bit more of a idea of how far spread out we are, and then eventually I'll probably host like a meeting in Pembrokeshire, an in-person one in Carmarthen, one in Aberystwyth, in Ceredigion or that area. They will be 3 monthly, 6 monthly, depending on logistics. So it's just little old me for such a big area. So yeah.
Yeah, Jenny, it's been fabulous talking to you. Just very quickly, you'll notice that if you're watching this on Facebook, I've changed the bottom slider. Hayley, this is something that you brought to the table the other week, and you were like, the sun's coming. Are you beach body ready? And loads of marketing companies, well, they've stopped using it now for fear of being absolutely chastised. But even though the marketing companies aren't saying it anymore, it's in our psyche now, Hayley. The sun's out. We've got to be beach body ready. Is that healthy or is that damaging?
Oh, no, that's going to be a conversation and a half. That is in the next segment. But we will find out whether we think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, let us know your views. You can call or WhatsApp on 01437 764455. You can use the PWR app. You can email studio@purewestradio.com. We're going to take a moment, and we'll be back talking about the pressures of being beach body ready. And if you've joined us and you've missed the wonderful insight from Jenny, endometriosis warrior of the West Wales Support Group, this is live on our social media. And thank you to everyone on Facebook, YouTube, and X that are watching this live at the moment. You can watch it back, and you can listen back to the whole show once it finishes airing at 11 at purewestradio.com/catch up. We'll be back in a moment. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
I don't want you ever to forget.